All right. Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Padjana Randana Yashodanandana Padjana Randana Randana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Now stop. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Mishnapad, Paramahansa, Padivijaka Ashtotoda, Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Mishnapad, Paramahansa, Padivijaka Ashtotoda, Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. Before we begin, could you get the curtains? Okay. Janardhan's going to get them. No, the curtains. The curtains. Yeah, it's a bit too much glare for me. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashtapayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktim Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance and classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So I already did Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We did Om Namo, so I'll just begin. On this 18th day of April 2022 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in Canto 5, The Creative Impetus, Chapter 15, The Glories of the Descendants of King Pṛthu. Text number 7. I'm just going to read this long Sanskrit prose. It's 5, 15, 7. All right. Get ready to record this. Savai Swadharmena Prajapalana Poshana Prinano Palalana Anushashana Lakshenena Jadina Cha Bhagavati Mahapurushe Paravare Brahmani Sarvatmana Pitapadamata Lakshanena Brahmavich Charananusevaya Padita Bhagavan Bhakti Yogena Cha Bhikshnashaha Bhadibhavitati Shuddhamatir Uparatan Atmya Atmani Swayam Upalabhyamana Brahmatmanu Bhavopi Nirbhimana Evavnim Ajukupat. Yeah. Translation. King Gaya gave full protection and security to the citizens so that their personal property would not be disturbed by undesirable elements. He also saw that there was sufficient food to feed all the citizens. This is called poshana. He would sometimes distribute gifts to the citizens to satisfy them. This is called prinana. He would sometimes call meetings and satisfy the citizens with sweet words. This is called balalana. He would also give them good instructions on how to become first-class citizens. This is called anushasana. Such were the characteristics of King Gaya's royal order. Besides all this, King Gaya was a householder who strictly observed the rules and regulations of household life. He performed sacrifices and was an unalloyed pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was called Mahapurush because as a king he gave the citizens all facilities, and as a householder he executed all his duties so that at the end he became a strict devotee of the Supreme Lord. As a devotee, he was always ready to give respect to other devotees and to engage in the devotional service of the Lord. This is the Bhakti Yoga process. Due to all these transcendental activities, King Gaya was always free from the bodily conception. He was full in Brahman realization, and consequently he was always jubilant. He did not experience material lamentation. Although he was perfect in all respects, he was not proud, nor was he anxious to rule the kingdom. Purport. As Lord Krishna states in the Bhagavad Gita, when he descends on earth, he has two types of business: to give protection to the faithful and annihilate the demons. Padatranaya sadhunam vinashaya chadushkritam. Since the king is the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is sometimes called Naradeva, that is, the Lord as a human being. According to the Vedic injunctions, he is worshipped as God on the material platform. As a representative of the Supreme Lord, the king had the duty to protect the citizens in a perfect way so that they would not be anxious for food and protection, and so that they would be jubilant. The king would supply everything for their benefit, and because of this he would levy taxes. If the king or government otherwise levies taxes on the citizens, he becomes responsible for the sinful activities of the citizens. In Kali-yuga, monarchy is abolished because the kings themselves are subjected to the influence of Kali-yuga. It is understood from the Ramayana that when Vibhisana became friends with Lord Ramachandra, he promised that if by chance or will he broke the laws of friendship with Lord Ramachandra, he would become a brāhmaṇa or a king in Kali-yuga. In this age, as Vibhisana indicated, both brāhmaṇas and kings are in a wretched condition. Actually, there are no kings or brāhmaṇas in this age, and due to their absence, the whole world is in a chaotic condition and is always in distress. Compared to present standards, Maharaj Gaya was a true representative of Lord Vishnu. Therefore, he was known as Mahapurush. Om Jnana Timurandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the dark of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Supadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalang Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Lagunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Padijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Parang Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakan Vitangscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sate Devi Pranamami Haripihe Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Behevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, we're hearing about this descendant of Priyavrata. And I think we heard about Priyavrata already at the beginning of the fifth canto. So this is, you may recall, we recently had a whole series of names, the lineage of Gaya. So this is customary, especially Maharaj was saying, he was explaining yesterday that Purana describes history. Well, of course, we don't hear the lineage of everybody. We hear the lineage of great souls. This is why we've heard all this, and it's come down to Gaya, who was a very exemplary king, leader. Now, this is very pertinent for today, when we see the beautiful, the Vaishnav kings and the leaders who are following strictly the Vedic system are very, very prominent by their absence. And Prabhupada said, he would sometimes say, he's very conspicuous by their absence. So, when we compare Gaya's activities here, it describes him in remarkable detail in this one long translation. He saw that there was sufficient food to feed all the citizens. In other words, he felt as if he was in a position like a father for the praja, the citizenry. And the citizens need two things to be comfortable. Krishna mentions them in the Bhagavad Gita: yoga and kshema. Yoga here, in this context, means the necessities of life. Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 8th chapter, how's it start? One who always thinks of me. Ananya chetak satatam yomam smadrinitya. Yeah, that's it. Ananya chetak satatam yomam smadrinitya. Tasyaham sulabhak papa No, that's the one. The one who always thinks of me. Ananyas chintayanto mam yejana payupasate tesham nityabhayuktanam yogakshemam bhahamyaham. One, for those who are always thinking of me without deviation, ananya, without other thoughts. Ananyas chintayanto mam yejana payupasate. Those people. I carry what they lack and I preserve what they had. I carry the yoga and shema. Yoga meaning necessities of life, and shema means security. When you think about it, those two things are what is necessary for material life. The security, protection also includes things like clothes, housing, what to speak of, just protecting you from thieves and rogues and dangers like that, and all kinds of natural dangers. So this is very important. Without that, even though if you have enough to eat and you may be comfortable materially, but you're not comfortable. You're in great terror and fear of who might break into your house, who might accost you on the street. So he would provide this. Sufficient food to feed all citizens, and that includes all other necessities. Distribute gifts to the citizens to satisfy them. Call meetings and satisfy the citizens with sweet words. So they want to feel like their needs are being heard and they're met, and so that's also part of the rule of a proper king or leader, that the citizens feel they're not estranged and that he's way up there in the palace or whatever, and he never speaks to them and they can't communicate with him. They want to feel like their needs are being heard. And then he himself strictly observed the rules and regulations of household life, and he was a great devotee, as we read a little later here in the translation. So there's that other principle, very important principle, that the leaders are giving the examples for the people. Yad yadachadati shreshtas tattadevete rojana sayat pramanam kudade lokas tadanuvartate. And this principle always is there in any leader, good or bad. So the shrestha means someone who is in a position of power or prominence in society. Yajadachati, whatever he does, the jana, the people themselves, will imitate, will find this as an example. Well, if they can do it, or he can do it, because there's usually a whole group of people who are leading, then we can do it, right? So that's a very important aspect of being a proper leader, to be a good example. And that goes on the macro level and the micro level. In our little temple, or in any city, or state, whatever it may be, country. The leader and the leaders, there's always a group of people who are administering. Their behavior is so important. And of course we can just see the contrast between now and what's described in the Bhagavatam. The 12th canto describes the kind of kings that we're going to have in the Kali-yuga. And it gets pretty degrading, and you can say, oh yeah, I recognize that one and that one. Just demonic. Just exploiting the citizenry, taxing, and using the tax. It's called the kleptocracy. Have you heard of it? We're supposed to have a democracy here, They have a monarchy is ideal when the king is ideal. Kleptocracy, what klepta means, to steal. So you get to the position of power, now I can really, get this deal and make a lot of money. And in fact, we find that America has the same thing. But in Russia, it was very overt. When the Soviet Union collapsed, a certain number of oligarchs were able to drain off practically all the wealth in the government, trillions of dollars that were worth it. Sell it off, go to the West, put the money in England or something like that. Classic Kali-yuga leadership. So he himself followed the rules and regulations of household life, means grihastha ashram, means devotional household life, performed sacrifices regularly. He was an unalloyed, pure devotee of the Lord. Therefore he's called the Mahapurush. So this is one of the main reasons Krishna comes. He comes in order to set things right in society, because there's always devotees in society, or those who can become devotees. So Krishna is concerned about the state of what's going on. And so what is it? Yada yada hi dharma saglana bhavati bharata. When the discrepancies that appear in dharma, and there's an upsurge of adharma, then Krishna comes and sets things right. He protects the devotees, pradathanaya sadhana, he destroys the demons and reinstitutes dharma. Now, he rarely does this personally. He comes once in a day of Brahma, which is over 8 billion years long when you take 24-hour days, not just 12. And so that's very, very rare. But he has his representatives. He has various incarnations who come, sometimes Shakti-avesh, empowered devotees who can spread the Krishna consciousness. Just like Srila Prabhupada was known as a Shakti-avesh avatar. Avatar means someone who descends. So he said, he was sent by Krishna from the spiritual world, Nitya Siddha, and for the specific purpose of spreading Krishna consciousness, Lord Chaitanya's movement all over the world. And he was spectacularly successful. That's why we're sitting here. And it's always for the concern for the spiritual life of everyone, and also for the material life. Because if you're too troubled materially, there's no question of practicing spiritual life. So there has to be some basic peace and prosperity in society. Otherwise, it doesn't work. So that's especially if someone is in the position of a king. He can do that. He can help people materially as well as spiritually, and this is what this King Gaya did. So now let's see. So descends to earth. As Lord Krishna says, when he descends to earth, he has two times to give protection. The Prabhupada quotes the very same verse. Pradathanaya sadhanam vinasya. So then he mentions that the king is meant to be Naradev, means the Lord as a human being, or such a good representative of the Lord, that he's just like a spiritual master, sakshat dharadvena samasta shastra. He has the position of God. He should be worshipped as God. He should be respected because he's, I'm not going to give up this word, channeling. He's channeling Krishna in his instructions and what he wants to do. So therefore, he should be respected like that, Naradev. Worshipped as God on the material plane. So this intercessor, what do you call it, this representative of the Lord, this is of course very true, very operative in spiritual life. We need someone who is perfected in the science of bhakti, who is willing to teach, and who knows the Shastra in and out and follows the Shastra. This is the definition of acharya. The word acharya comes from the word achar, which means behavior. So you can see that they're doing, what they're saying we should do. Chanting and giving up sinful activity, no question of that, and preaching and observing the deity, all the things, even down to how to eat, how to stay clean, they show by their example. So that's essential to carry on the Dharma, and so that the disciplic succession is maintained. And so Krishna empowers certain great souls like Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Our whole line is full of acharyas. And if someone is fortunate enough to contact such an acharya, and to be inspired to take up the process, then one's life can become successful, because you can become purified. You can experience the whole different way of life, a transcendental lifestyle. And as we know, there are so many rules and regulations, do's and don'ts. So it's a little kingdom in a sense. The spiritual ashrams and temples are also meant to be they're for the benefit of the Lord, but of course they're arranged in such a way that one can enter into that organization, institution, and become purified, become closer and closer to Krishna, and reform one's life and live, keep body and soul together. We're not supposed to perform severe physical austerities, healthy life, but not extravagant, and to accumulate credits where it really counts in the bhakti punya. It means that the activities that are going into your bhakti account, which is never lost. As Krishna says, no loss or diminution. So that's the similar role that a spiritual preceptor plays. but it's in the, everything is, it's not dealing with a lot of people who may be practicing a little, but they're really living in a material life. But if there's a king who's very pious and is a devotee, then he can have so much great influence on people, to take up devotional service and to live saintly lives. So you can, it's painful to think of the world we live in now, which is just the opposite. You have people in authority here and everywhere else who are exploiting their position, who are cashing in on their inside information. The congressmen and congresswomen buying stocks, selling stocks because they have inside information. They have an advantage, which is completely corrupt. They've actually thought maybe we should pass a law that the Congress people can't have stocks, in businesses. It's just ridiculous. But the things are so overt now that there's this phrase defining deviance down, so that the things that deviate become the norm. People don't know any different. This is what's happened in Kali-yuga. Who knows the standard except the devotees? And so when so much sin and so much corruption becomes the standard, then society suffers like anything. So that's what we got now. Okay, any questions on this long verse and purport? We're going to. Okay, some from Zoom land.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, Dravida Prabhu.
Hari Bol, Vijay Krishna. Thanks for attending.
You're most welcome.
Sure.
Prabhu, my question is, if a devotee is recognized as genuine and still I do not like him, is it that I do not like him because I am no better than a rascal?
Is that the totality of the question?
Yes.
You might be put into the rascal category, although you can get reformed. The thing is that if he's a what we call a paka devotee, he's following strictly, maybe not a pure devotee, but then we can see that's we should understand that that's by far the most important part of his behavior and character. And if there's some thing about him that we don't like on the material level, that reflects on us. It says we're still judging things through material eyes. And we should tolerate. We should try to embrace that very essential quality of a devotee, and always see the good in others. Oh, this person is so rare; they're actually chanting Hare Krishna, and they've doing devotional service, but they also do this, and this, which I don't like. All right, let me overlook that. And the great example is Srila Prabhupada. If he had that kind of judgment when he came, he would have left the second day he was here. He looked around and said, these people, the drugs and the illicit sex and everything. But he was so compassionate that he was willing to stay in order to find those rare souls who may have all these bad qualities, but had the good quality of being ready to hear him and to try out the process of chanting Hare Krishna. So Prabhupada is our acharya. Means he sets the example, as I was explaining. So we should also be tolerant. But of course, as I said, I like to emphasize this, but I don't know if it's going to catch on in ISKCON. But to enter the temple, what to speak of stay in the temple, one has to pass the crest test. You must be clean enough, respectable, sane, and sober. And if you're deficient in any one of those, it doesn't really work here. We had a fellow a few weeks ago who I think was high on LSD or something. So he was kind of crazy, and he was intoxicated, so he didn't really meet the crest test. And, he started being crazy in the arti and kirtan. He really liked that gong. He was going to go for the gong, and that's when we had to leave, So there may be people who have some bad characteristics, but we should overlook them if they're basically meeting the standard of being able to be in the temple and stay in the temple, and if they're sincere in following, and you hear them, you see that they're practicing devotional service, and that the power of Krishna consciousness of strict following to transform one's behavior and one's being, quickly. We've seen, Prabhupada said, just try it for 2 weeks. I guarantee you, just try the chanting, So we should be tolerant and not be, as we used to say, too judgmental, and see that these things that we don't like, if someone is really a devotee, will fall by the wayside, just as they hopefully have fallen by the wayside for us after some years of practice. Does that address the question?
Yes, Prabhu, completely. And just give me some help related to the rest test. 4 qualities which are sane, sober, clean, and respectful.
Yeah, the CRESS. So the C is clean, the RE is respectful, and then 2 S's, which is sane and sober. Clean, clean, respectable, sane, and sober.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Haribo. Maybe it should be a GBC resolution, huh? Anyway, I'll talk to them. Let's see. All right, why don't we read the next one? It's a short one. Text 8. Tasye mam gatam pandaveya puravida upagayanti. My dear King Pṛthu, those who are learned scholars in the histories of the Puranas eulogize and glorify King Gaya with the following verses. Purport. The historical references to exalted kings serve as a good example for present rulers. Those who are ruling the world at the present moment should take lessons from King Gaya, King Yudhiṣṭhira, and King Pṛthu, and rule the citizens so that they will be happy. Presently, Presently, the governments are levying. Oh boy, do I have a missed line here? Those who are ruling the world at the present moment should take lessons from King Gaya, King Yudhiṣṭhira, and King Pṛthu, and rule the citizens so that they will be happy. Presently, the governments are levying taxes without improving the citizens in any cultural, religious, social, or political way. There seems to be something missing there. What do you have in the book? Okay, there's a serious mistake there. But that should be a period. That's a period. Presently, the governments are levying taxes without improving the citizens in any cultural, religious, social, or political way. According to the Vedas, this is not recommended. Yeah, so you can see the value of Prabhupada's books. If people read this, we come upon this, we see what the real standard of government is, of rule. And otherwise, if people don't have a standard, then all kinds of things can become normalized that are actually totally deviant and harmful for the people in the world. And now we have this situation of a war going on, and on both sides, you got 2 nuclear powers. The United States is not full on in the war yet. We're trying to hold back, but we're doing so many things. And everyone in the world who's aware of this is, my God, I'm in danger. We're in danger right here. If the nuclear bombs start going off, and the thing is, whenever anyone has a weapon, usually at a certain point they try to use it if they're in danger or if they see an opportunity like that. So anyway, this is the situation we're in. And all the more reason to become serious about Krishna consciousness. If the bombs start flying, we're in the best place, because this is a huge target. There's no question of going anywhere. So we'll be vaporized, we'll be chanting Hare Krishna at the top of our lungs, and a huge kirtan, and that's the way we're going to deal with it. Oh no, I got to get the pills and get the anti-radiation. I do not want to be around, in that situation where there's that kind of madness. That's not going to help your Krishna kindness. But if okay, look at King Pṛthu, he had 7 days. Okay, so now, we have 22 minutes since the bombs are coming. They're coming. There's no question. We have no defense. So Hare Krishna, huge kirtan in the temple. And even Saul will be singing at the top of his lungs. I don't care if you're in tune anymore. Everybody, and you can sing along with the singer, of course, just constant chanting. That's our strategy. There's no point in, we have faith, we hope. Just a couple of little realizations I had. They may be wrong, but I like to go back to the Cuban Missile Crisis, because that was the last time that the whole world was on the edge of their seats. Is it or isn't it? Is this the end? This is the way it is. It doesn't matter where you were. If you had a radio, or your mother told you what's going on, it's happened. 2 billion, 3 billion, 4 billion, whatever people were there. So that's it didn't happen. Almost did. It almost happened. And there were like 40 or 50 different instances where it almost happened. But at the last minute, somebody did something, or didn't do something to them. So, I like to think that this is Krishna's arrangement. I mean, isn't he in charge of everything? Ultimately, he's the ultimate doer, right? Mr. Christ was 62. Prabhupada came in 65. After the immigration laws had changed a little bit, and he could stay in the country easier. He didn't know that, but that was also Krishna's arrangement. So we understand Kali-yuga has 427,000 years to go, according to our Shastra. There's only 5,000 years in or so. So we can say, well, okay, Krishna can resolve the situation so the world doesn't blow up and climate doesn't change so radically and people become sane, and we'll see, But we're ready for anything. I mean, that's what Krishna consciousness means. If you chant, that's what chanting constantly means. Kirtaneya sadahari. It's right in our main Shastra. Always be chanting, always remembering Krishna. Because death can come at any time. Or a stroke can come at any time, or anything. There was a devotee who was standing in line in Publix in Alatra. Suddenly fell over with a stroke. And never really recovered. A few days later he was gone. He was elderly. I mean, he wasn't like your age, but... So, this is the world we live in, and that's part of our philosophy, to think that it can happen at any time. So that should make us real sober. Otherwise, Maya's, getting it. Well, I've got 30, 40 years to go. I'll take it slow, like that. Don't take it slow. Take it as fast as you can. Okay, any questions? Please. Oh, you have a comment. Where's the mic? We didn't bring the mic up. That's your fault. How do you...
It was that. He said that you could go at any moment. The other day I was at Ron's with Tyler.
Okay, wait a minute. Everyone wants to hear this.
Hare Krishna. Okay. I was gonna say, you could say you could go at any moment. And the other day I was at Vaughn's with Tyler, and I was eating these little halos, like the little oranges. Right? And he told me, "Oh, you're gonna help me?" And I was like, "Yeah, let me just finish this real quick." I decided to pop the whole thing in my mouth.
The whole orange with the skin and everything?
No, without the skin,
okay.
just like that. And I was chewing it, and I tried swallowing it, and it got stuck. And I was really choking. Like, I was like...
Oh, my God.
It was really bad, actually.
Did he do the Heimlich maneuver?
Tyler did the Heimlich, actually, yeah. And so it eventually went down, but it just made me realize, like, oh, man.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, because I take a lot of supplements, try to prolong this life in this body. And one of them is a pretty big pill, And every time I take it, I take some water. Because I read a story about some lady who took a pill like that, and she was choking on the pill. She was alone, and somehow she survived. So you never know, what. Yeah. Okay, it's a lesson for you. Yeah, Krishna's teaching you. Be ready at any time. Okay. All right. So we can leave this one for tomorrow. There's actually a verse, so if we can remember, we should write the verse. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol. I'm sorry.